The wind swept across the barren Texas plains, carrying dust and despair just like the life of Evelyn Grace, a 22-year-old widow whose world had fallen apart far too soon. Her husband, Thomas, had been the pride of the Blake family, a soldier who never returned from war. But instead of sympathy, Evelyn faced cruelty. The moment her belly began to swell with Thomas's unborn child, her in-laws turned cold, their eyes filled with shame instead of compassion. "You'll be leaving tomorrow," her mother-in-law spat, tossing an old suitcase at her feet. "There's work for widows at the ranch north of here. Consider it your punishment for bringing disgrace upon our family." Evelyn stood frozen, clutching her small bump protectively. Punishment? For carrying the child of her dead husband? Her trembling hands packed a few worn dresses and a framed photo of Thomas. Tears burned her eyes as she whispered goodbye to the home that once promised love but had become a cage of pain. The journey to the ranch was long, the wagon driver barely speaking as the wheels rattled across endless dirt roads. Evelyn stared out into the horizon, where the sun bled into orange and gold. She wondered what kind of man ran a ranch so far from town. When the wagon finally stopped, her eyes met the towering silhouette of Colt Dawson, a man as solid as the mountains behind him, broad-shouldered, sun-browned, with eyes that held the calm of a man who'd seen storms and survived them. "You must be Mrs. Blake," he said in a deep, steady voice. "They told me you'd come to work the kitchen." Evelyn nodded, too afraid to meet his gaze. He noticed the fear, the exhaustion, the loneliness wrapped around her like a veil. But he also noticed her courage, the quiet strength in her eyes. Life on the ranch was hard. Dawn to dusk, Evelyn scrubbed, cooked, and carried water, all while her unborn child kicked gently in her belly as if reminding her to stay strong. The ranch hands were rough but kind-hearted, and the old cook, Martha, took a liking to her. "Don't you let them folks who sent you here tell you you're a burden," Martha said one night over the fire. "You got life growing inside you. That's a blessing, not a curse." Evelyn smiled faintly, her heart aching with gratitude. Colt often watched her from a distance, curious about the woman who never complained, even when her hands blistered or her back ached. One evening, as thunder rolled over the plains, he found her outside, trying to cover the laundry before the storm hit. "You'll catch cold," he said, striding over. Before she could protest, he threw his coat over her shoulders. The scent of leather and cedar filled her senses. She froze, realizing how long it had been since someone had shown her kindness. "I can manage," she murmured, but her voice trembled. "I know you can," Colt said softly, "but no one should have to manage alone." That night, Evelyn lay awake listening to the rain drumming on the roof. Her thoughts tangled between fear and something new, a quiet warmth she hadn't felt since Thomas died. Maybe it was safety. Maybe it was hope. When dawn came, Colt knocked on her door with a small basket of fresh fruit. "For you," he said, "and the little one." She looked at him in disbelief. No one had spoken kindly of her child before. She bit her lip to hide the tears. Colt smiled faintly. "You've got a future here, Evelyn, if you want it." But not everyone on the ranch was pleased. The gossip spread quickly among the ranch hands. Talk of the widowed woman, catching the boss's attention. One bitter worker sneered. "Guess the lady knows how to win pity." Evelyn overheard, and the words cut deep. She packed her things that night, ready to leave before she caused trouble. But when Colt found her at the barn door, tears in her eyes, he stopped her. "You think you're a burden?" he asked. "You're the strongest person I've ever met. Don't let their words steal your worth." Evelyn broke down, confessing how her in-laws had sent her away, how she had nowhere to go. Colt listened, his jaw tightening with silent anger at the cruelty she'd endured. When she finished, he said simply, "Then you'll stay. This ranch ain't a punishment, it's a new beginning." As lightning flashed across the sky, Evelyn realized that sometimes the place meant to break you could be the very ground where healing begins. Weeks passed, and the rhythm of life at Dawson Ranch slowly wove itself around Evelyn like a comforting blanket. The baby grew stronger, and so did she. She smiled more, laughed sometimes, and even began humming while she worked. Colt noticed every change, the spark returning to her eyes, the way her voice softened when she spoke to the horses, and the calm she brought to his home. Yet behind his steady eyes, Colt fought a battle of his own. He'd built his life on solitude, swearing he'd never open his heart after losing his family years ago. But now this fragile woman, with courage in her heart and life in her womb, was teaching him how to feel again. One morning, Evelyn collapsed while feeding the chickens. Colt caught her just in time, panic flashing through him as he carried her inside. Martha fussed, whispering, "She's working too hard. That baby's due soon." Evelyn woke to find Colt sitting by her side, worry shadowing his rugged face. "You scared me," he admitted, his hand brushing a strand of hair from her cheek. "Don't do that again." She managed a weak smile. "I didn't mean to. Guess the baby wanted attention." Colt chuckled softly, a rare sound that made her heart flutter. "Then both of you rest. The ranch can run itself for a day." As days turned into nights, their bond deepened. Colt would sit on the porch while Evelyn knitted baby clothes, telling her stories about his childhood. She'd listen, eyes full of quiet admiration. "You've built something beautiful here," she said once. "Maybe," Colt replied, gazing at her belly. "But maybe it's not complete yet." When Evelyn went into labor during a fierce storm, Colt never left her side. He held her hand through every scream, whispering, "You're not alone, Evelyn. You'll never be alone again." Hours later, the cry of a newborn filled the cabin, a baby boy strong and healthy. Tears rolled down Evelyn's cheeks as she held him close. "His name's Thomas," she whispered. Colt nodded, pride glinting in his eyes. "Then Thomas it is." But as peace settled in, Evelyn's past returned like a shadow. Her in-laws arrived unannounced weeks later, their faces hard and unforgiving. "We've come for the baby," her mother-in-law declared coldly. "You're unfit to raise him on some ranch." Evelyn's heart stopped. Before she could speak, Colt stepped forward, towering over them. "You threw her away like she was nothing," he growled. "Now you think you can take what's hers? Not while I'm alive." His voice thundered with authority, his stance unyielding. The in-laws, frightened by his intensity, backed down. "She's family now," Colt declared, wrapping an arm protectively around Evelyn. "And this land will protect her." That night under the stars, Evelyn wept quietly. "You didn't have to fight for me," she said. Colt looked at her with gentle eyes. "I didn't fight for you," he said. "I fought for what's right." He hesitated, then took her hand. "But maybe I did fight for you too. Because somewhere along the way, you became the reason I wake up every morning." Evelyn's breath caught, tears shining in her eyes. "Colt!" He silenced her with a soft smile. "You don't have to say anything. Just promise me you'll never think you're a punishment again. You're a blessing, Evelyn. To me, to this land, to everyone who knows you." Months later, as the sun rose over Dawson Ranch, Evelyn stood with baby Thomas in her arms and Colt's arm around her shoulders. The wind carried the scent of hope, and for the first time in years, Evelyn felt home. If this story touched your heart, the narrator's voice fades in softly. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because every broken heart deserves a second chance, and every lost soul deserves love that never gives up.